Hey everybody, it's Jack, and today I'm gonna take a look at Siduction, the community-based OS. So Siduction Linux is actually based on Debian Unstable, or also known as SID, hence the name Siduction. So yeah, it's a very clever name there. I think that's kind of cool, and I thought this would be a really interesting distro to take a look at because Debian really is one of the most stable distros out there. However, if you want to be more cutting edge and have pretty much the latest kernel and newer software, then Siduction is a nice, easy way to get Debian Unstable codename SID onto your system. So this looks really interesting. And what we have here, I'm at the website right now. Latest version is 2021.2 Farewell. Yeah, that was kind of a foreboding name there. I thought, oh, does that mean they're going somewhere? However, it's actually named Farewell in honor of a friend and or colleague, probably in the project, who has died unexpectedly before his time. And so this was, I guess, what you'd call maybe a tribute to Alex, I believe was his name, Alex. And being that this is a German OS, I'm assuming that it's pronounced Boy, B-E-U. Could be wrong there, but that would be my assumption. I think that would be the German pronunciation. So, yes, very sad there on that note. So after clicking on the download link, so let's take a look at the spins that are available. So if we go up here and click on our download link and select installation media, we can see all the different spins here. So our flagship, the main spin here is KDE Plasma, and then all these other spins are available in addition, such as Cinnamon. And then we have KDE Plasma, of course, and KDE Plasma Future. So there's a difference. KDE Plasma is what you would normally expect to find on a Debian release. It's at 5.20, and KDE version on KDE Plasma Future is the latest version. So that is really cool. There's a contributor on the team with Siduction that has created a spin of this that got an updated version of KDE Plasma into the Debian SID release here. So that's really cool. And I think that's the one I might want to go with. And of course, we have other spins here with our LXDE, LXQ, XFCE, Xorg, and NoX, which I just said all that. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and download this. So I'm going to hit download US, and then I'm going to grab it, and then we'll be right back, and I'll load it on and we'll check it out. Okay, and here I am at the desktop. I'm booted into the live version here, and we can even see the tribute there to Axel Boy. Really hope I'm pronouncing that name right. Okay, and here I am at the live desktop here. And so right off the bat, it already looks pretty cool. And so if we pop over here, so here on our desktop, it already has a really nice feel to it. And then down here we have, looks like Discover, and then our system settings, Firefox, Console, and Dolphin right in the taskbar by default. And then here we have our main menu. So yeah, it looks like it's really loaded up with stuff. That's nice. And the ISO is about 3 gigs. So I'm not surprised it's got a lot of stuff on it. This is going to be really interesting. So I'm going to go up here and I'm just going to hit this installer. So here we go, and you can see it's the Calamares installer. Nice. So this is really easy, and it's saying that it's not connected to the internet. So I guess we'll have to connect it. And while I'm sitting here, I'm just gonna scooch up here like that. There we go. And then I'm gonna just hop in here and just take a look at this real quick. Okay, so I paused the video for just a second. We got connected to the internet. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit next, and then I'm just gonna hit back just to see if it, yeah, I might actually just have to restart the installer here because I just want to make sure that it does actually connect. So to be sure, I'm just going to go ahead and start it again. So if you're following along, you might want to go ahead and set up your internet connection right now. I'm on Wi-Fi, so that's why it didn't see the internet connection right off the bat on this computer. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next. And so those are our release notes. Then we have our location, which that is close enough. I'm on the same coast. And then our keyboard. And now here, I'm going to go ahead and just replace a whole partition, and so I think we're good with that, and actually erase disk. And there's quite a bit of RAM on here. There's about 16 gigs, so I think I don't really need a swap partition or a file. So I'm just going to go ahead and skip that. And then I'm going to put in my usual funny name for YouTube, which is Toadwick. And then we'll go ahead and type in a super secret password. And then we'll go ahead and log in and then use the same password. Excellent. And after that, we'll go ahead and looks like I missed something. Oh, the password is not matching. Okay, try that again. Okay, and then we'll hit next. Okay, and now we got a summary of everything here and it all looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and hit install and then we should be in business. So I'm going to go ahead, another confirmation. I'll hit install now and there we go. So now it's welcoming us to the install and this shouldn't take too long. Typically, I would think it would probably run maybe 5 or 10 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and hit pause and I'll be right back. Okay, now the install is complete. That didn't take long at all. Probably about 8 minutes. So not bad. I'm going to go ahead and reboot and see if it all worked. Be right back. Okay, and here we are and looking great right off the bat. And really very much the same as the live version, except we don't have the installer up there anymore in the corner. Yes. And then Siduction Handbuch. So yes, you can tell it's definitely a German, and I wonder if that's written in German. And it is. Wow, that's pretty cool. Actually, I heard that there is an English version coming out pretty soon, so that won't be too far in the future. However, currently everything is in German in the handbook, so soon the English version will be coming out, but I think that's super impressive that they got such a comprehensive handbook here. And this was one of the things that was just recently updated in the newest update. So I would keep an eye out for the English version for you non-Germans. And so, yes, very cool. And if we jump down here into our application menu, we can see right off the bat that it has our standard app menu. So very simple. I actually kind of like that actually. And the theming is really nice right off the bat. Looks very polished and sharp. That's a very cool thing. And I think if you want to change, you can go down here, right click, select show alternatives, and then you can choose from different menus if you wish to. Like this one is a little bit more of a complete menu. Selecting that. So those of you that are familiar with KDE, you can go ahead and just take your pick on your most comfortable menu. And then of course there's the full screen menu by selecting show alternatives and going to the top there. And then it gives you an application dashboard. So if you're coming over from GNOME or maybe Debian, then you might appreciate this even more. And there you go. Nice. So here we got, whoops, took that out. So here we got our full screen. Excellent. And then of course you can go in here and sort by category, and we've kind of done this before on others KDE setups, so probably nothing new if you've seen my videos before. And then our widgets, of course, we can select from right in there if you wish. So nice, very good. And so this taskbar here really looks nice right off the bat. It seems pretty complete. The only thing I see that's not there that I'm used to is the show desktop over here in the very corner. So I think I'm going to go ahead and add that real quick. I'm just going to right click over the taskbar itself, select add widgets, and then I'm just going to type in show desktop. And it should, there it is. Okay. So I'm just going to run right over here and select that baby. And then I'm going to drag it right down into the corner, just like this. And see how everything's moving out of the way? So we'll just put that right there. And now we got our show desktop. How cool. Excellent. So I'll just go ahead and close that. And you can choose from all kinds of widgets in there. Weather widgets, everything. And they don't have to go in the taskbar. You can actually just put it right out on the desktop and they'll put out and they'll go right there. So let's right click and just kind of look at our desktop arrangement. As you can see, these two icons here are moving horizontally across the top. And in the newer KDE, that's how they're set by default. So if we hit our configure, and so folder view is our default. If you want to use desktop view instead, you would just hit here and apply now. And then that would switch over to a desktop view. And then that makes all your icons go away, so you can feel just like you're in GNOME. You can have a big desktop that does nothing. So yeah, If you're a fan of that, that's how you can keep it nice and clean. Otherwise, I would just recommend staying in the folder view and kind of going with that. Then we have all these different wallpapers, and there's some nice looking wallpapers in here. And if we go down to icons, our arrangement is in rows. That's why things are moving horizontally across. If you like the traditional columns instead of rows, you can simply change it right here. Select columns and hit apply, and then they'll line up and down. But I think in the spirit of this distro, I'm just going to go ahead and keep them at their default. It's kind of cool. And you can also lock them in place if you have problems with your icons shifting around on your desktop and it drives you kind of nutty. You can do that too. Nice. And so, yes, your icon sizes can be adjusted here if you need them bigger or smaller and so forth. So that's all looking good. I'm going to see if the HTOP is installed on here by default, just for fun. And so let's go ahead and type that in. Okay, let's see what we got. Looks like 997 out of my 16 gig or 11.5 that it's got allocated here, so not too shabby. Okay, so if we go into our menu here, we got the big, and in case I didn't show this to you, a couple times I had pause on and I didn't realize it and I had to redo this again, so now I kind of lost track of what I did before. And I'm just kind of scrunched in the corner and shrunk down so you can see this menu better. So that's why I went from bigger to smaller. Just for this menu. So yes, and so you can see that last one is Power Session, which probably isn't really much to look at in that one. But then we got all our stuff up here. So tons of great apps here. So we have all applications, which are all listed in alphabetical order here. And then we have our development software, a KDE console, I think that is. I forgot what that is. I think it's something related to MySQL database programming or something, but not really sure. Can't remember. Then we have our file compare utility, which is really super handy. And then our graphics software. Fantastic. Cover Scene, Digicam. Digicam's an excellent image management software. Really like Digicam. I remember that was one of the first softwares I remember that could actually resolve an HEIC file. Those are the default image files on an iPhone. And it seems like most image viewers, at least none of them actually in the beginning, could even resolve those. And now I think the only image viewer other than Digicam is Vue Noir. I think it's how it's pronounced. And Vue Noir is an excellent image viewer, and it will read those types of files as well. That's the only other image viewer that I know of. Otherwise, you had to load it into GIMP, because GIMP actually built that feature into its software a few versions back. So it's nice to see this slowly coming into the image viewing community. But as far as I know, Vue Noir is the only straight up image viewer that can resolve those HEIC files. And Digicam was the first. Digicam is a management software for if you have a lot of files and you want to archive them and categorize them and all that stuff. Digicam is really the way to go. I think you can even tweak your photos and use it in Digicam too to kind of, lighten them and darken them and maybe flip them and so forth. So yeah, excellent software. And then we got Flameshot, our screenshot utility, Photox, which I think is a photo editing, a basic editing software, kind of like GNU, maybe. I can't remember, but I think it's something you can download pictures off your camera. And then scan to PDF, that's nice. GwenView, our picture viewer, Image Magic, Inkscape, excellent. Always got to have Inkscape. So for me, that's kind of a must. Then we have our paint program here, Color Paint, KRuler, LibreOffice Draw, Ocular, PhotoFlare, and Xane. PhotoFlare, I think, is a basic image editor, lighter than GNU, GIMP. I think that would probably be the lighter version. And then here we have Internet App out the yin yang, tons of them. So we got FileZilla, and then Firefox is our default. FileZilla, by the way, is an FTP client. If you have a website and you need to FTP files up to your site, that's really the way to go. Then we have KGet downloader, mail handler or header, So Kmail is the default email client. And so it looks like we got pretty much all the different KDE apps here that you normally get. And then KTorrent, which is great torrent client. And then KDE Connect, so you can connect to your smartphone. SSH utilities for secure stuff if you're one of those advanced people. Then we have our different players. So it looks like we got a lot of different media players to choose from. Sound players, music players like Dragon Player, Elisa, Juke. Then we have, looks like a CD burning utility, K3B if I remember right, is really an excellent burner. And then we have Caffeine Player, MPV, SM Player, SM Tube, and VLC. Wow, we're really loaded. And then Vocal Screen, which is a great screencasting software. You can record your desktop and all that good stuff. YouTube Downloader, and then Webcamoid. Wow, I like that. That's a really cool webcam utility where you can see yourself on a webcam and then make videos with that. And it's got all kinds of cool filters in there to kind of warp yourself or make fire on your hands and all kinds of weird stuff. So that's a really great utility. A+ for that one. Then we have Office. So we have our complete Office suite, which is LibreOffice on here. So that's good to see. And then we got Science and Math, which would be our LibreOffice Math. And then our settings. So it even has Synaptic, which is really great. Love Synaptic. Glad to see that in there. Our system settings and our alternatives configurator. Wow, let's open that up real quick. And so if we look at that, wow, check that out. So all the alternatives, it looks like they're already installed here by default. Aptitude, ARP tables, AWK, nice. C++, very good. Wow, so yes, desktop themes, Grub, display, and you can choose from all kinds of great stuff. So yes, this is really loaded right to the hilt. Very impressive. Glad to see that. That is excellent. And then our system stuff, we got all our normal system settings. It looks like even a DSL configurator. So yeah, continuing on here in the system, now we G-parted, we got our HP drivers, and you might have noticed during the install we had all the default drivers, or all the proprietary drivers were being installed by default, and it had mentioned in there that there was a command you could pop into the console if you wanted to remove your proprietary drivers. Personally, I wouldn't recommend that. I would keep them because you want to have proprietary drivers activated, especially for like your video cards. I'm running an Intel video card, and I prefer having the ability to have proprietary drivers when it needs it. And I think the same would apply to your Wi-Fi, and my Wi-Fi probably would need some of those drivers too. And without that, yeah, it might not work. NVIDIA is another one. NVIDIA video cards, if you run an NVIDIA, you're probably going to be covered just fine by using the proprietary drivers here. So it's really kind of has a purpose for it, and I would totally recommend you just not uninstall those at all, because why fix something if it's not broke? So very good. And then Midnight Commander, nice. That's a kind of a console-based file browser. Very cool. Termite, I thought that was extinct, but cool. And then we got Yakuake. I can never pronounce that. I think that's a Japanese name, and it is a really nice console. And when you run it, I believe, if I remember right, the hotkey is F12, and it'll drop right down from the top of your system. And then you have a drop-down console that you can have easy access to anytime you want to use it. A lot of times I've just kind of put that in my startup so I can just have instant access to it. Just one note though, if you leave the hotkey at F12, it's kind of a pain if you do a lot of web pages or web design and you need Firefox to kind of or Chromium to look at the source code and maybe modify things when you're testing different features out in the code. And F12 is the default to bring up your inspector, your code inspector. So that'll kind of conflict with Yakuake. Yeah, I butchered that. That'll conflict with that. So you want to keep that in mind in case you're a web designer and you use Firefox or Chrome a lot to inspect different elements, and you use that F12 hotkey, then they will conflict and you'll want to change that hotkey. Okay, so that kind of covers the software, I think. Excellent. So let's take a look at our system settings. And I think our system settings really are pretty much straightforward. They're, I think, going to be the typical what you have in your KDE Plasma. So under appearance, we got future as our default global theme. Nice. And under application style, looks like we're running Breeze, and our plasma style, I'm guessing is probably Breeze Lite. And then here you can get new styles, and you can also go out to the website kde-look.org, I believe it is, and you can download them and put them in and manually put them in a folder. Create a folder called .themes in your home folder, and then extract the contents into that folder, and they should show up right here. Also, DT from DistroTube, he used a different way. He kind of downloaded the files and used the console and went into sudo and uploaded those theme files to the USR, the user directory. I forgot exactly where that's at. User share something. I think. But anyways, that was really cool, because I think it's really cool when you can kind of show someone a different way to get them in there, and it encourages people to jump into that console and use it and kind of understand some of the inner workings with Linux. So I really like the fact that he did that. I thought that was really cool. So thumbs up for that one. So yeah, I just thought of that when I got chattering about this, and that was a great video. That was something that he did fairly recently, and I can't remember what the video was about completely, but he was in KDE, and I think it was a Debian related video. I think he was doing a video on Debian Unstable, and that might have been where he did that. Yeah, kind of cool. No wonder it sounded familiar. So this is based on Debian Unstable, so I guess he's unstable too. Okay, so we got our Windows decorations, fonts, icons, and again, if you were going to do icons, you can go select get new icons, and it looks like we're having a connection problem getting out there right now. I've had that problem a few times recently, actually, on my other desktop, so that's kind of weird. But again, you can get the icons the same way, kde-look.org, or you can just Google and put in your favorite icon, like Dracula icons, and then download them. And then instead of putting them in a .themes folder, you would make a folder called .icons and put that in your home folder, and they would appear in there, or you would extract them in there, and then they would appear right here the next time you open this window up. So, easy peasy. And the same goes for fonts. You can download fonts from a font website, create a folder called .fonts in your home folder, extract them to that folder, and just like that, like magic, they'll be installed. Okay, so there we go. And then of course our splash screen. So if you want to change it, and I think this future splash screen is really cool. I like it, actually. That was a really nice choice on the Siduction team. Then of course we have all our other stuff here, which is pretty standard. You know, our Windows management, shortcuts, startup and shutdown. So here you can change your login screen and so forth. Personalization, so you can set up your notification settings. So if you went in here, you can turn different things on in your notifications or other things off. And that would be under here under applications and configure. And there's where you can attach notifications to different apps. And then there's our user settings. And so if you want to give yourself an actual picture, you can go in here and maybe find a picture or something that looks like yourself or something you can relate to. For me, if I was going to use something, I would probably use something that looks like me, like maybe this dog. Yeah, there is a resemblance. The only thing is I haven't stuck my head out the window as the car was speeding down the road at 55 miles an hour in a long time. So yeah, I've kind of lost touch with my canine self. So let's just hit apply just for fun. And oh, of course they want a password. And then there's our regional settings, accessibility, applications. And so all this other stuff is really pretty much the basic stuff here. KDE wallet, if you don't want that hounding you, I think you can go in here and change your wallet configuration. That doesn't really seem to be a problem much anymore, but I remember about a year ago or so, maybe a couple years ago, that was kind of a pain in the butt. That wallet would constantly come up and hound you for passwords, and it was really irritating. And I think you had to install like Seahorse and then create a blank default password, and yeah, I'm glad they got that resolved. Saved us from the bad old days. Then we got our multimedia codecs. That's really great. We got all these codecs here installed. Thanks to the SID team. I believe in Debian if you were just going to install Debian Unstable from the Debian ISO. And I can't remember if there's an option during install, but if not, then you got to add those repositories manually. And I think that's the case in Ubuntu too, although I think they also give you an option during install. But if you don't select that option, like in Ubuntu, and it may be selected by default, I don't recall. But for whatever reason, if that option is not selected, you got to go add those repositories in manually, and it's no fun. So there you go. And so that's everything, even our systemd settings here. Nice. So very, very good. So with that, I'm just going to look in our wallpaper real quick. I never did change that. And wow, it's got the home world. I think that's the default wallpaper in the Debian SID Unstable and the stable too, I think. But I remember that wallpaper from somewhere. And then we have lines. That's kind of nice. And moonlight. That's cool. I like that actually. And then there's the Atai, and that is actually on the second desktop. So like if you do get that. And then space fun. Wow. Anything about space and fun is always good with me. Maybe because I'm spacey and I like to have fun. So I think I'm going to stick with Moonlight Lock Screen. Even though the screen's not locked, I like it. So yeah, why not? So there you have it. I think I covered everything. And I got to tell you what, this Debian Siduction is really great. I mean, I thought it was cool just to install the Debian Unstable from the ISO, you know, and it's set up really nice, but this really takes it up to a new level, Siduction. And so I'm loving this distro. This is really great. If I had 3 sets of thumbs, I would give it 3 thumbs up. But since I only have 2, I'll stick with 2. Yes. So A++ for Siduction. I think I'm going to put this on maybe one of my other computers that I use fairly often. And I don't usually put a desktop on a computer that I use fairly often lightly. That doesn't make a lot of sense. But what I'm trying to say is, on this one computer I have in mind, it's not something that I change very often. And so this is something I think would be a great match for that computer. And I think I'm going to do that because this is really cool. I want to kind of follow this around a little bit and just kind of see how it works for the next couple of weeks. And if there's any disasters and it falls apart, then I'll let you know. But I have a feeling it's not going to be. I think this is going to be rock stable because it is, after all, based on Debian, which has got the reputation for being stable. And if I recall correctly, Debian Unstable goes through the testing phase first. And so that's where you get Debian testing. And then once it gets past testing, then it gets into unstable. So unstable really isn't as unstable or scary as the name might imply. So yes, I totally recommend if you're looking for a really cool, stable distro that you can kind of rely on, and maybe you don't have a really great internet connection, so you can't deal with the headaches of constantly updating, then this might be a great alternative where you can get a nice stable operating system that's not going to be asking you for updates, at least not tons of them all the time. And so, yes, this could be a very nice match for a lot of people. I'm really glad I discovered this. This is really a fantastic distro. And I don't even remember how I discovered it. I think I stumbled across it. Just kind of in my travels, I guess. And I'm really glad I did. Absolutely top notch. Love this distro. And what can I say? I hope this video was helpful. And if it was, don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And hit subscribe. Thanks again for watching. And we'll see you next time.